Today we're talking about a DJI Mini 3 Pro and the settings that you need to change on this drone if you just pick this up over the holiday season. If you've got a Mini 3 Pro for Christmas, then awesome. But a lot of people get this drone, they want to go and fly it and get the best quality. And this is a fantastic drone, but you have to change settings on this as soon as you get it to get the very best quality out of this. And it's quite confusing going through all the different settings to start with. You can do it wrong, you can make mistakes. So I'm going to go through the key ones that you need to change in this video, hopefully help you out. But I hope you had a fantastic Christmas and New Year. Let's get into the video. So the Mini 3 Pro is an absolutely fantastic drone, easily the best small drone out there. It's got fantastic pro features, you've got hyperlapse, quick shots, focus track, it shoots in 4K 60, it is really good. Now a lot of beginners pick this up because they want less restrictions, they want a drone to fly on, to practice, to get going before they move into say bigger drones. So think about that location first of all that you're going to before you even go off and fly, before even getting to these settings. You want to pick a really big open space, you want to check that everything's fine on the drone, the propellers are all nice, there's no scuffs on them, you don't need to replace them, the battery's fully charged, the controller's fully charged before you even get going, and make sure that that area is suitable. Once you've done all that, you want to get the drone ready for takeoff. So the settings we want to change on this to get the very best quality, because we're not flying this from 5 years ago, so 1080p HD, it's okay, but it's just not good enough these days. We've got a 4K drone, we want the very best quality, and by default a lot of the features on this drone are still in HD, so let's change them first of all. So you'll notice when you go into your video settings, look in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see res and FPS. We want to change this from 1080p to 4K. Now I shoot in 4K 25, if you're from say America, let's shoot in 4K 24, or you could shoot in 4K 30. The difference between 4K 25 and 30 is minimal. There's a big debate on what to use, we'll save that debate for another day. But 4K 60, I would use that if I want to shoot in slow motion, because then I'm shooting at 60 FPS. I can then slow that down by at least half in my editor program and get very good slow motion quality, still 4K. But I wouldn't shoot in 4K 60 all the time, because one, it takes up so much storage, and two, it's just not really needed at all. So majority of the time I'm shooting in 4K 25 on here, but I'll switch between 4K 25 and 4K 60 a lot, depending on what I want to shoot. Change that now. You'll also notice in quick shots and master shots, this also defaults to 1080p. We don't want 1080p on a Mini 3 Pro. Change that also in exactly the same way. You go into the very bottom corner and you'll see res and FPS, change that to 4K. Also, if you notice when you go into hyperlapse on the Mini 3 Pro, look in the bottom right hand corner, that again says output 1080p. We want that to be output in 4K. Click on that. 4K. Now once you've done that, you've got two options because you want to actually develop the color. So if you go into settings, go into camera, and then the second tab down says color. So you've got two on the Mini 3 Pro, normal or D-Cine-like. So normal is just basically what it says. It's a normal auto color profile. The drone does everything for you. You don't have to do hardly any color grading. It looks pretty good. It might be a bit too saturated, might be a bit too contrasty, but for majority of people out there just starting off, normal is fine. Now when you want to get going and you want to make better video quality, so you want to be able to create this video yourself and tweak these colors, so color grading, color correction you may have heard of, this is where you want to use D-Cine-like. And this is a 10-bit color profile. What that means is it's the highest quality you're going to be able to get. So your video quality is going to look the best, but you need to do some work for it to get good. So when you use D-Cine-like, you'll notice that it is a flat color profile. So everything on that video is just going to look really washed out and really white. It looks terrible on the screen. But that's because then you have to color grade it. So I brought my own LUTs out to solve that problem. So basically you just drag a LUT onto your clip and it transforms that video. So I've got my own LUTs out, but I've talked about that enough, so not today. But basically that is what it is, normal or D-Cine-like. If you want to color grade, choose D-Cine-like. If you don't want to color grade, choose normal. So 4K, and then looking at your color profiles, that's a good start before you even get this drone going. I want to tell you about something that I've just brought out for this year, and it's all to do with these settings, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. So this is all to do with these settings for the Mini 3 Pro. So I'm doing this video now. I've done videos before. You'll love these videos because I want to basically do these to help you to get the very most out of your drone. But I also understand that when you get out into the field, it's really hard remembering all this. So I've developed my own Mini 3 Pro cheat sheets. So these are small PDF files that you can take with you and then you've got all of this knowledge with you all the time. I haven't seen anything else like this. This is fantastic. So basically everything I'm going through now, so the different flight settings to use, the different safety settings, how to use quick shots, master shots, what flight settings should I use in different scenarios. So if I'm flying at night, what should my ISO be? If I'm flying in the daytime, what shots should I do? How to fly safely over water, what to do in an emergency, what to do if there's loads of birds attacking your drone. And all of this knowledge is now accessible because you get this as a digital download that you can actually put into your camera roll or a PDF, and it's available to just look at, and it's with you all the time. Or you could also print them off. So I've got these printed as a credit card size. So these now go perfectly into my wallet, and I can take these 3 cheat sheets with me all the time. And every single one of these is going to give you the knowledge. So what to do before your flight, the in-flight settings I recommend, the advice what I would do to make the best possible footage. So how to make shots up, how to actually film, what to look for in that location, and then stay alert settings, so about these different problems that may arise. And then you've also got a checklist as well, so for beginners here or for anybody who's to go through this, like a pre-flight checklist, going through exactly what to do on your drone before you go and take off. So these are really handy to have with you all the time. So it's really easy to forget these settings, but when you've got them with you here, you can just glance at them, or you can just look on your phone. I hope these really help people out. But I've also designed these so they are easily printable in credit card size or full A4 sheets as well that you can just keep in your backpack. So I'm going to be selling this pack, these cheat sheets, for just £5, about the cost of a coffee. I really do hope you really enjoy these. I think it's a really unique product. It's going to help a lot of people out, so I hope you enjoy it. If you want to check these out, they're all on the website and available right now. Now you can also notice what something new is. If you go into camera and you scroll to about halfway down, you'll see an option called style. So if you click on that style logo, you'll see that now we've got 2 options, sharpness and noise reduction. So this is great, we've added this onto the Mini 3 Pro as well. So if you think that video is looking too sharp, you can actually pull this slider down and you can do maybe -2 or -1. If you think that video is looking a bit too over sharpened, you can slide that down, or you can increase it as well. And noise reduction, if you're filming at night time or low light where there's going to have some grain on that video, you can increase that as well. So you can increase it up to say 1, and then it's going to imply some noise reduction, so your image isn't going to look as grainy. So it's great that we've got this now added as well since this drone has come out. And now let's talk about the key safety settings that you need to change and some features that we've got on this Mini 3 Pro that we don't on other drones. So let's click on the top right hand corner, you'll see safety. Now first of all, on this drone we've got obstacle avoidance, fantastic. You don't have it on the new Mini 3, you have it on the Mini 3 Pro. You've got bypass, brake and off. Now me personally, I'm changing between bypass and off constantly, depending on where I'm filming. So majority of the time you want to keep this in, I would say bypass. Most of that time. I rarely ever use brake, but I do use off a lot, and this is the examples I'm going to give you. So bypass, so as soon as it detects an object from the front or from the back or underneath, it will avoid it. It doesn't have side sensors on here. It will avoid it and keep on flying. So this is a great feature on here. Now, if you're going to be flying through objects, so you might be flying through like a small tunnel or under a bridge or something which you're going to be flying maybe between 2 trees. If this drone detects something, it will swerve to avoid it and carry on. In that instance, it's not a good idea to have these sensors if you're doing something which takes more fine tuning, more detail, more actual precision flying, because you want that drone to fly in a completely straight line with you fully in control. In that situation, I turn my sensors off, I do that shot. Once I've cleared that shot, I'll put it back on. So I'm changing constantly between the 2, but certainly majority of the time, even for me, bypass is on the most. And I did mention that this drone has no sideways sensors at all, and on that page under safety, the second tab down says disable sideways flight. This will not allow you to move that drone left or right at all. Now this is a safety feature because it's got no sideways sensors. It's going to make sure you don't crash that drone by doing any sideways motions. I just think that's really boring though, and it just restricts the drone flying altogether. So I would make sure my disable sideways flight is off. I don't want that on at all, so I'm just going to click that off. Now I'm in full control of this drone. The drone can fly sideways, but it's going to mean I can do circle shots, orbits. I'm in control of this. I'm going to look if there's any obstacles there. I'm not going to do an orbit into a tree, or I'm hopefully not going to anyway, but it's up to you. You know, you don't want to restrict this drone too much by having everything automatically disabled. We don't want that. And in flight protection, this is so important because we've got max altitude, max distance, and return to home altitude. And these are sliders which you can change. Now, the max altitude is going to depend on where you're living, but don't just think that if you set it to above what your country restriction is, you're automatically going to have like the feds coming after you straight away. It doesn't. There's some situations where you want to actually go over that, and I'll explain why. So max altitude. So if you've got this set and for some reason things happen out of the box, it's not set accordingly, and it might be set to max altitude 20 meters. When you're flying this drone, once it gets to 20 meters in height, it won't go any higher. Once it doesn't have GPS lock as well, it will also have a restriction of how high it's going to fly. So you're going to be flying this thinking, why the hell is this drone only going 20 meters in height? Why can't I get it to go anymore? It's faulty this. Pack it up, send it back. It's not, it's because your max altitude hasn't been set. So drag this up to, say, for instance, 120 meters. So 400 feet, 120 meters. This is generally the restriction in countries around the world for the height limit. So set it as that. Now, max distance, you could set this to, say, 500 meters. You could set it to no limit. It's all on you. So if this again is set to, say, 20 or 30 meters, you're going to be flying this drone, flying it, and it's going to get to about 30 meters away, and then it's going to stop and you're going to get an error message. Again, it's because your settings have not been changed properly. So go through them and make sure that your altitude and your distance is set. And you can change them whilst in flight. Just have a look at them every single time before you go off and fly. And finally, the return to home altitude. Just underneath that, it says auto return to home altitude. So if this drone is flying and it goes, say, through some trees or over an object, or it just loses signal and it can't actually be retrieved and your screen goes blank and you're absolutely crapping yourself thinking, I've lost my drone, you will then hear these fantastic beeps of doot, 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 and the drone will start coming back to you automatically, straight back to its home point. So you want to set your return to home altitude to make sure that this drone doesn't crash on its way back. So I say always set it to about 100 meters. So I'm going to drag this up to 100 meters. This is going to make sure if I'm in, say, the outdoors in the countryside, it's going to clear any trees, it's going to clear any buildings. 100 meters is a good one to go with. Now, if it's really windy, I would set this lower to about 50 meters because the higher the altitude, it's going to be more windy. So on windy days, you need to actually look into that and change it accordingly. But 100 meters is a good way to go. Now, what you also want to look at the very bottom of safety is advanced safety settings. So advanced safety settings is really important. You've got return to home, descend, and hover. Return to home is what I would advise to use all the time. If it disconnects, it's going to return back to you. Hover, it's going to just hover in place, and descend, if it disconnects and loses signal, it's going to go down. You don't want that. Return to home, use that majority of the time. And for hover, if you're flying over water, I would use hover, or any like tall buildings. And then I would just want the drone hovering in place, and I can then either walk to that drone's location, get closer to it and take control, rather than risk it going back to a different location that I'm not there. But return to home is the one you want to be using majority of the time. And we've also got a new setting as well on this Mini 3 Pro, and it's called Gain in Expo Tuning. So we go to Control and we go to the third tab down, Gain in Expo Tuning. Let's click on that. What this allows you to do is customize the smoothness of the drone, basically how it moves around. So if you think this drone is moving a bit too fast in either normal, cine, or sports, you can adjust these parameters here by sliding them, and it makes that drone just go a lot slower. But what I also think is good is that if you go to the very bottom of it, you'll see Gimbal Max Control speed and tilt smoothness. So this drone has to tilt a massive range on the Mini 3 Pro, and you might find that the tilt speed is too fast, that your shots are just looking too quick when you're tilting that gimbal. So you can go to Max Control Tilt and you can lower that speed, and you can also adjust the smoothness as well and can increase that to have more smoothness. This is a note that I've learned the hard way. SD cards, super important to have really good quality SD cards. But I was flying the drone and I did loads of footage, and then right at the end of the day I flew the Mini 3 Pro and it crashed, and the SD card was obviously sunk to the very bottom of this lake, and I lost all the day's footage. So a tip for you is, if you're flying all day or in say 3 different locations, once you finish in location 1, take your SD card out, put in a fresh SD card, finish that, at the end of that change it again, go to location 3 with another fresh SD card. So if something does go wrong, if you do have a crash, you've still got all of your footage from location 1 and 2. Swapping SD cards frequently is something that I didn't do, and I'm going to be doing a lot more, 100%. And all of these settings apply if you want to shoot in vertical. So I'm now going to just change, and that gimbal now is in vertical mode, so this is good for reels, social media, but all the 4K settings in quick shots, hyperlapse, everything is still the same. I'm still going to use 4K even if I'm uploading to social media. The Mini 3 Pro is a fantastic drone. You have to change these settings on it to get the very best quality out of it. So go and change it to 4K. Make sure you've got your safety settings all selected correctly. Go and pick up these cheat sheets if you want to remember these settings when you're in locations. And I'll see you guys on the next one. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like and subscribe. I hope you found that helpful. Bye bye.